Hello and welcome to So Easy Sewing's Granite City Block 2 class. I recommend watching the video all the way through before beginning. We will begin by gathering our fabrics. Here we have fabric 11, 13, 10, 6, 1. We will start with the strips we set aside from block 1 before we cut into our new fabric. We will cut 8 2.5-inch squares. Next, we will cut 24 2.5-inch half-square triangles. I cut 12 with my fabric face up and 12 face down. This will make the flying geese later on much easier. Now we will cut 4 10.5-inch by 1.5-inch strips and 4 12.5-inch by 1.5-inch strips. Fabric 6. I first cut off the selvage so I have a clean edge. I have my strip folded over itself so that I can cut 2 pieces at once. We will cut 8 4.5 inch by 2.5 inch rectangles. On to fabric 10. Again, we will trim that selvage edge so that we have a clean starting point. I have my strip folded over itself so that I will get mirrored half square pieces. This saves time now and when we are putting it all together. We will cut 4 of these so that we get a total of 8 pieces, and of course, save our leftovers for future blocks. Here we have our fabric 11 set aside from block 1. We will cut 2 2.5 inch squares out of this fabric. And last, we have fabric 13 that we set aside from block 1. Remember, when you cut your quarter square triangles, you must do so with a single layer of fabric. Here are all of our pieces. From fabric 1, we have 2A, 2B, 2C, and 2D. Fabric 6 is 2E, fabric 10 is 2F, fabric 11 is 2G, and fabric 13 is 2H. Let's get sewing! Using pieces 2B and 2F, we will make a 2.5 inch square referred to as Unit A. I take 2 opposing half square triangles and put them right sides together, matching the center point. You can see the edge that I place under my foot has that trimmed corner on both pieces. This will make it so that I have less trimming to do once I have my squares together. Here I have 2 pieces cut from fabric facing the same way. When I place them right sides together and I match up that center point of my triangle, I'm going to have a little tab of fabric hanging off both corners. Here you can see my trimmed edges are opposite each other. Here you can see my left block has 2 ears to trim and my right block only has 1. Next, we will sew together our 2H and 2B pieces. This will be referred to as Unit B. We will take one 2H triangle and 2 opposing 2B triangles and lay them out. We want to place our pieces right sides together with the trimmed point lined up. Here I'm just going to finger press my seam. Then we place our second half square triangle and align those trimmed points. And here we have our flying geese. As you can see, we will have 2 points to trim, but we should have 1 flat edge at the top. For Unit A, we will press our seams toward fabric 10 or piece 2F. For Unit B, we will press our seams towards fabric 1 or pieces 2B. Next, we need to trim our tails. As you can see, depending on how you sewed your pieces, you'll either have 2 tails or 1 tail to trim. Make sure to measure your Unit A pieces that they are 2.5 inch square before trimming. Now for Unit B. It should measure 4.5 inches by 2.5 inches. Be sure that it is the correct size before trimming. Next, we will be sewing our 2A pieces with our Unit A pieces. We want to make sure that our fabric 10 or F2 piece is aligned with our solid 2A square. Remember to always sew with your seams face up so that you can make sure that they will lay flat when sewn down. We will press our seam toward our solid square 2B. Now we will create our Unit C pieces. We want to sew this with our flying geese or Unit B piece on top. This is because the feed dogs will push our bottom seams to lay flat, and we can keep an eye on our top seams because they face opposite directions. For these pieces, we will press our seams away from our flying geese. If you press from the back, it is easiest to start at the center and work your way out. If you press from the top side of your fabric, you will put your iron on top of your flying geese and then press over. Now to piece our rows. Grab 2 Unit C pieces and one 2E rectangle and line them up. Remember to always sew with the fabric with the most seams face up. Double check the direction of your Unit C pieces before sewing them to your rectangles. You want the flying geese on the left to point up and the one on the right to point right. For our center row, we need two 2E rectangles and one 2G square. We will sew each rectangle to opposing sides of our square. For our top and bottom rows, we will press our seams towards the center. Since our other row seams are pressed in, we will press our center row seams out towards our rectangles. If it makes it easier for you, you can always press one side before attaching the other rectangle. Now we will place our rows right sides together. Make sure your seams nestle together, pushing against each other, and pin in place. And we'll repeat the process attaching our final row. And just like with our other rectangles, we will press our seams to the center. Now all that's left is our sashing. Take two 2D pieces and sew them on opposite sides of your block. We will press our seams towards the outside of our block. I find this easiest with the block face up. We will now take two 2C pieces and sew them to the remaining sides of our block. And again, we will press our seams toward the outside of our block. Congratulations, you finished block 2.